Abaye, abaye. Tumulise. Tukakobola.
This is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, one of Africa's biggest infrastructure projects. It's a $4.7 billion giant hydroelectric dam, a monster of concrete and steel. The Ethiopian government believes the dam is going to revive the economy, but Egypt worries this might come at its own expense. Negotiations over the dam's operations between Egypt and Ethiopia have dragged on for years, with neighbouring Sudan caught in the feud. Both Egypt and Ethiopia have hinted at possible military action over the project. Attempts to reach a final comprehensive deal have ended in deadlock, with many key questions still open. The importance of the world's longest river, the Nile, can hardly be overstated. It's essential for the 280 million people living along its banks in the Nile basin. The Nile's main source is in Ethiopia at Lake Tana. Water flows towards Sudan and joins the river's other tributary at Sudan's capital Khartoum before heading downstream to Egypt. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the GERD for short, is being built on the border with Sudan near the Nile source. The dam would catch water in its massive reservoir to be harnessed to generate electricity. Simply put, the new dam gives Ethiopia considerable control over how much water flows downstream. Ethiopia wants the dam to supercharge its economy as the country's population and ambitions grow. The dam could be a big part of Ethiopia's transformation because it will provide sufficient and cheap power for all sorts of future investments. The dam will also have a huge impact on Ethiopians' everyday life. When fully operational, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam will generate 6,000 megawatts, making it the largest hydroelectric dam in Africa, and it will provide power to more than 65 million Ethiopians who currently lack a regular electricity supply. So if things go as planned, energy from the dam could more than double Ethiopia's current energy output, fulfilling its needs and making it an exporter of electricity to other African countries. Ethiopia also sees this project as overcoming what it perceives as historic injustice relating to it not being able to use the Nile waters for its development because of historic treaties and other claims of Egyptian hegemony. Back in 1929, Britain signed a treaty with Egypt granting Cairo the right to veto projects higher up the Nile that would affect its water share. In 1959, Egypt and Sudan signed an agreement that gave Egypt the right to 55 billion cubic meters of Nile water a year and Sudan 18.5 billion cubic meters per year. Ethiopia, on the other hand, was not consulted. In 1970, Egypt finished building its own massive dam, which helped control flooding and utilize the Nile to boost its economy. The feeling of historical injustice on the side of Ethiopia have made any talks on sharing the Nile harder. Ethiopia is not looking to make compromises and concessions on this project, and instead it's looking for the downstream countries to do so. Meanwhile, Cairo says the dam can operate under one condition, that Egypt is not harmed. Egypt is home to almost 100 million people who depend on the Nile for 90% of their freshwater supply. Egyptians fear that Ethiopia will leave too much water in its reservoirs during periods of prolonged drought, endangering the flow downstream, which could leave Egypt's farmers unable to irrigate their lands, causing major food shortages. Sudan, on the other hand, is caught quite literally in the middle of things. The effects for Sudan seem mixed. One fear is that GERD could jeopardize the operations of Sudan's own dams on the Nile. However, Sudan also sees an opportunity to get cheap energy from Ethiopia. GERD could also regulate water flows to Sudan and help prevent flooding. Negotiations around the dam have dragged on for years and have been marred by distrust. Recently, Ethiopia accused Egypt of sponsoring cyber attacks to disrupt the project. Ethiopia has repeatedly threatened to unilaterally start filling the dam's reservoir with or without an agreement with Egypt and Sudan. Egypt, on the other hand, has been very vocal about its dissatisfaction with the way Ethiopia has gone about building the dam. Both Egypt and Ethiopia have hinted at possible military action over the project. The three countries are currently planning to return to the negotiating table under the sponsorship of the African Union. But even with a final deal on the dam, talks and further cooperation will be necessary in the years ahead.